It was on this day that the Sri Aurobindo received the Krishna consciousness. What does it mean? Krishna consciousness belongs to the overmental region. We all know what is overmental region. Many of us know what is overmental region. We have got various layers of uh, mind. Presently, we are all in surface mind, using physical mind as a means or the platform for talking and listening and running our day-to-day life. But above this surface life, we have got higher mind, and then illumined mind, then intuitive mind, and then overmind. Overmind is a layer which is just below the supramental layer. In fact, our rishis have said that this overmental consciousness is blocking the sun of the supramental consciousness. So, overmental consciousness covers the supramental sun, and uh, until this is penetrated, one cannot further go beyond the supramental consciousness, because in any case, that was the mission of Sri Aurobindo for having come to the earth to bring supramental down here. So he was working on this. So this was a stage to that. And he was working about it right after his Alipur jail episode till about this date. Thoroughly, daily, and we have seen his letters time to time that he has written to his bhaktas, significantly one to his Bharim, his brother, in 1920, and this happened years later. So this is the day that Krishna consciousness descended on his physical. How did it happen? Because he had completely surrendered. He had complete. What is this complete surrender? We always say that we have surrendered. I have surrendered to the mother. I am surrendered to the divine. What does this really mean? Does it? This is mother says it's just a word. It is just a word. You are just. I will show you those slides as we go along. So this was the day. This is on 24th November. On 26th, this happened, and immediately mother called some of this, uh, you know, devotees, those who are in the ashram, to assemble and to participate to receive the radiations or the emanations from Sri Aurobindo's physicality. And they came in, many of them. So Sri Aurobindo himself says it was a descent of Krishna into the physical. Don't mistake this into me, into Sri Aurobindo. He says into his physical. This is extremely important to understand this. And then so the Samarpan topic became very relevant for us to choose. Now, the word Samarpan and surrender, they don't go together. Surrender word falls too short of the thought. It is a, nowhere it is close. Surrender word in English means that you give up. You give up something. You are losing something. But Samarpan is not that. What does the Samarpan word mean? Samarpan word means Samyak Rupena Arpana. Samyak Rupena Arpana. Samyak means what? Samyak can also be translated as something that is very lofty, very high, unrestricted from any kind of to borrow a word of mother, without any compression. She uses the word compression, without any compression. Please come, sir. Yeah. So this was so Samyak Rupena Arpana. Arpana means offering. So you are not surrendering. You are offering. And in fact, that's a victory. That is a victory. This surrender is a victory. And you do not, uh, by the word surrender and sacrifice, etc., etc., though we are using it because there is no other way to communicate in English language, we use it, but it falls short. That's exactly I wanted to emphasize that why it is surrender and how it is so uh, misunderstood. This, you know, I remember a line from Tagore, which if you translate to English, it says that let my last victory be when I am completely vanquished by you. My last victory should be when I'm completely, finally vanquished by you. When I'm lost to you, that should be my real victory. That is called samarpan, and and that is the idea of samarpan by the mother and the master. So, what is surrender? There are two components in it. One is self-offering, another is consecration. In between, there is a process also. We'll roughly briefly see this, what is it, so that it will not be possible to entire surrender to be dissected and understood how it is taking place, how can it take place in me and you, how do we surrender? We see top, just the skin of it. Let us see what surrender is not first. One can sacrifice only what one holds dear. If one does not cling to it, it is not a sacrifice. It's a gift with all the joy of giving. Surrender has no value if it is painful, if it is a sacrifice. Surrender must be truly a joyous offering. One gives up something, surrenders oneself, but without sacrifice. This is what Mother said in 51. She continues to say, when you do anything with a sense of completion of your meaning, be sure that you are doing it in the wrong way. If there is any amount of discomfort, feeling sad, feeling that I'm losing something, and it is very common. From morning onwards, you get up. When you put your feet on the ground, from then onwards, if you analyze, you will find we're absolutely self-centered. As long as ego is there, no amount of surrender is possible. Actually, true surrender is decision to hand over charge of our lives to the divine by opening to the divine. True surrender is a decision to hand over charge of our lives to the divine by opening to the divine. So surrender is only a decision, a movement of will, sankalpa. If we stop there, we stop at the cover page of a book. If we just do a sankalpa and I'll surrender and I'm surrendering, I'm surrendered, all this kind of a thing, and don't do more, you have just seen the book from the cover page and nothing else. This is truly shown. Why do you talk about surrender? And why is it necessary to surrender? Now, you see, before I go beyond, Some questions are asked, people are asked to post some questions and post some questions. Many of you have sent these questions, and I have built in these questions out here. In this, questions are built into this topic. What is the need of a surrender? The need of a surrender is the divine gives itself to those who give themselves without reserve and in all their parts to the divine. So divine does not give you anything unless you give something to the divine, and so completely that nothing else is left to be given. That is why surrender in this yoga is insisted upon, because it's only by surrender, especially of the vital ego, that these things can go. So you see where what is happening. Sri Aurobindo has gone to the vital ego first. No lip service, but I am surrendering. I am surrendered. But he says, start with the vital ego. Because there only begins the problem. The resentment that comes from the vital ego level, the resentment against divine rises from the vital ego. Because the vital ego says, I don't want to surrender. I want to stick to my path. I cannot change. Without changing that what I want, you get what is to be done, fine. But if you want me to surrender my vital ego, I am not ready. So this fight goes on throughout our lives after lives after lives. Either does not want the divine or wants it for its own purpose. I want the divine to give me wealth. I want the divine to give me A, B, C, D, the plethora of things that I want. Everything should be given to me, and I want you for that purpose. And it actually gets furious when it is asked to change. When its desires are not satisfied. That is the root of all things. So we are unable to surrender. We have surrendered to our vital ego, and we have not been able to know that we have surrendered to vital ego. And we keep on thinking that I'm surrendering, surrendering, surrendering. Sorry. Nirvan, you come over. So this is what happens. This is the root of all mischief. Next, why do you have to open ourselves? Object of self-opening. The object of self-opening is to allow the force of the divine to flow in, bringing light, peace, ananda, and to do work of transformation. Now, this work of transformation that has to happen through surrender is not a part of surrender of Bhagavad Gita. We have studied Bhagavad Gita and we have seen one of the main themes is surrender. But this surrender of Bhagavad Gita does talk about transformation. Sri Aurobindo's transformation, surrender, it talks as final goal as transformation. This is a significant difference between Gita, where Gita falls short of what is aimed at by Sri Aurobindo. To attain this surrender is the best way. To attain this, surrender is the best way. Aspiration and quietude can do it up to certain level. But beyond certain level, surrender cannot. Surrender cannot do it. So when the being is so receives the divine Shakti, the Shakti works in him and produces result whether he is conscious or not. To keep open means to call her forces to work in you. And if you do not surrender to it, it amounts to not allowing the force to work in you in its own way, because you want generally through your vital ego, you want it to be doing it the way you want. I must clear that examination. I must get that promotion. I must get that rise in the post. I must go there and there and there, all that thing. This is what we are always crying and craving for. There's not much of a spiritual meaning in keeping open to the mother if you withhold your surrender. So surrender and opening, they must go hand in hand. One without that will not do. Self-giving or surrender is demanded of those who practice this yoga. Because without such a progressive surrender of the being, it is quite impossible to get anywhere near the. What is this self-giving? We read in in every write up, every talk we hear self-giving. What is self-giving? Now we have a yeah. I'll just draw here. Self-giving. This is a self-giving. You have to exit your parts of the being. We have to arrange the parts of being around this. If this is not done, self-giving, surrender is poppy talk. So this is our various parts of the being. This is self-giving. This can be physical being, this can be vital being, this can be mental being, this can be spiritual being, and various other emotional, many other subjects. Emotional, aesthetic, all those things are there. So this has got to be organized. This is tough. This is tough. So that is the reason why it has not been possible so far. To seek after impersonal, suppose you are searching for something impersonal, that is to seek after impersonal is the way of those who want to withdraw from life, but they receive no help from the impersonal. You see, even Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita has said what? Some of you can reach the divine through impersonal. He's talking about to reach impersonal divine. But he says it is very difficult. Why it is difficult? It's not said in the Gita. Sri Aurobindo says it. He says because you are not going to receive any help. Because impersonal is what? Impersonal is relationless. It is relationless. He is immutable, present, unfolding, but he is relationless. He has got no relationship that uh, this gentleman is trying to come to me, let me help him. He is not going to do that. Who is going to do that? So you have a personal divine. Personal divine will be able to help you. So he says if you're looking for impersonal divine, so it will become difficult. Difficult means you have to do it on your own way. This is not, man, please come here. There are six wickets here. Here, here. On the other hand, by opening and surrender to mother, one can realize the impersonal and every other aspect of the truth also. And the surrender must be progressive. You know, in synthesis of yoga, you have read that there are three chapters. Ascent of sacrifice. What is that ascent of sacrifice? Sacrifice in essence. Everything ascends in us. Not merely sacrifice, everything ascends. Everything has to ascend. So when you are offering something, so there are altars below the divine. Your offering to the divine, will it be placed on the topmost altar, or the one below that, or the one below that, or it is bottommost one? That offering that I am giving, qualitatively, what level of acceptance does it deserve? So, uh, there is a term that is used by Sri Aurobindo. He says, acceptable sacrifice. A sacrifice that will be acceptable. That is acceptable sacrifice is the top. Divine did not bend down to pick it up. But the one that is at the bottom, that he never will pick up. So the offering has to be progressive. So surrender must necessarily be progressive. Progressive means this. It has to ascend. It has to ascend day by day. No one can make the complete surrender from the very beginning. So it is quite natural that when one looks into oneself, one should find its absence. If we sincerely look into it, that am I surrendering? I'm not surrendering. I'm trying to bargain something. I'm always trying to bargain something. Give me this, then I'll give you this. That kind of a thing. So the broad stages of this sadhana, bro- broad stages of the sadhana are these. There are two movements with a transitional stage between them. Two periods of yoga. Two periods of one of the process of surrender, the other of its crown and consequence when the actual offering is done. So these are the two distinctive phases of surrender. The process of surrender, which is becoming progressive over the life. Now, so this climbing that one has to make is a pilgrimage up the hill of being. Up the hill of being means our being is like a hill, and divine is right here. And the rishi has to go climb all these Chota mountains and go along and reach there. So it is a progressive climbing, like one climbs the mountain. And as we know, the higher you go in a mountain climb, the tougher it becomes. One step on the top, near the top, takes minutes and minutes and minutes or hours. So it is pilgrimage up the hill of the being. One has to climb. Is he climbing? Am I climbing? Am I climbing up the hill of my being? That is the question we ought to raise. During the period of the surrender, what happens is this. In the first period, he has to work by means of the instruments of the lower nature, but aided more and more from above. As one goes up, the help from the top comes, as we deserve that time, depending on what we deserve at that time. Otherwise, it doesn't come. He is not bothered. Then others are trying better. So why should the CEO of the company promote you when 10 more people are doing more than you? Obviously not. He's working for the whole organization. But in the later transitional stage of this movement, our personal and necessarily ignorant effort more and more dwindles, and the higher nature acts. The eternal Shakti descends into this limited form of mortality and progressively possesses and transmutes it. So you see, this is what is the process, and I mean, knowingly, unknowingly, we study all this, but we don't consolidate this learning and do the surrender. Now, see the first line, first paragraph is the working in the lower end, and second paragraph is the working on the upper line. Now, only few days back, few months back, 2 months to go, 5 months back, we completed Mundaka Upanishad. In Mundaka Upanishad, if you see, there are two phases. That when you try and appreciate the Apara Prakriti, and then you switch over to Parapra. So first two parts are on Apara Prakriti. What you do, how you do, and what you attain. What do you attain? Subsequently, he says after this is done, then Paraprakriti. So this is also in Vishopanishad. Those who have studied Vishopanishad, they know that avidya mitru sitva vidyaya amritam asmute. So you go through the avidya, then go to vidya, you get it. You don't reject avidya, use it as a stepping stone. So same thing here. We find here also this process goes through because this is how it has got to be done. There's no escape. Now you see, as the Rishi goes up, he gets this halo around him. This has been there from here. When we are here, this will not be there. We have to struggle. So here comes the famous Rigvedic sloka, which I quoted years primarily because of my selfish interest, in the sense that I love this particular sloka. Ritem ritam apiritam dhruvam mam surjasya yatra vimuchanashan dasas tata saha dastut ekam devanam sreshtam bapusham apashtam. Only when I went up, the Rishi is saying, this is from the uh, fifth mandala, 62.2 or 3 or something. So this is what does it say? Ritena ritam apahitam. By truth, the face of the truth is hidden. By truth, the face of the truth is hidden. And Paruji, Bani. So, so because it is hidden that way, it is not seen. You may see the first ritam, You may see the first rhythm and you may think that this is the rhythm I'm searching for. So you will get misled. I am seeing something, I find this is the rhythm. Good enough, I have achieved it. But that retain a rhythm of a rhythm Dhrubam. So it is, uh, that's the problem. So that is the Rishi is climbing up the hills like this. Now, some smaller aspect, lesser aspects of it, which are less dense. Steps to surrender will be one has to proceed to translate the sankalpa into action. Sankalpa, as you said, is the cover page of a book. So you must turn the cover page. So don't stop at the cover page, but turn the cover page. One has to proceed to translate the sankalpa into action. One has to be conscious of one's whole life. It has to be part, it has to be part by part, and each part introduce this decision to surrender the divine. And that is here. This transformation is taking place. This, the entire view of the complex of my being will get changed here. Has to be changed like this. It is not by action. The central will of psychic being must be the focal point, and around which one by one all beings must be organized. So that is why we have the psychic being and we have physical, vital, mental around. This is a progressive self-offering. When you say progressive self-offering, this is the progressive self-offering, not only in the horizontal plane, but also in the vertical plane. I hope you are understanding. If not, kindly ask me what it is. I'll stop. So it is not only in the horizontal plane, it has got to be done. It has got to be done in ascending scale. Surrender is translated into many movements of self-offering, and we have discussed what is self-offering. This movement is supported at each stage by psychic will. This psychic will has to be brought into operation and made to support the self-offering. When this is done in detail, that is called consecration. This is the name of consecration. Our understanding of consecration is, oh, I purchased this book from Sri Aurobindo Ashram, please consecrate in Samadhi. So we take it and get it touched there. But that is what is. The psychic will has to be brought into the operation and made to support the self-offering. So the influence of psychic being has to be in the other parts of the being. If we can't do it, we will be failing in our action. So here we have, that's why these additional arrows indicate that they are interacting. Earlier they were just around it. Listening of the psychic, now they're interacting. So these parts of the being has to interact. Next is, in this process of working out the sankalpa, each part of our being is surrendering to the divine. Each act that is surrendered to divines, thereby made sacred. So that is how they are consecrated. Mother had said, and even when you are told, make your surrender total and the work will be done for you, it is quite all right. But to make your surrender total every day, at every moment, at every breath, you must choose to make your surrender total. So we don't choose to make our surrender total. Total, surrender, and choose to make it surrender. It will not get done by itself. It is you who must want to do it. So the entire action, Sri Aurobindo very clearly says, nobody is going to do your sadhana because there are many other greats, those who have said, I will do your sadhana. Sri Aurobindo this is not possible. He can help, he can give you certain power, but he cannot do the sadhana for you. He says you have to walk the talk. How one will know that the surrender is being done and total? This was a question that was asked. Fortunately, I could get an answer of it in the words of Mother. One may try out a little exercise. Try out a little exercise. Say, one may say, let me see, I surrender to the divine. I want him to decide everything in my life. Let divine decide everything in my life. This is your starting point. You have made this statement. This is your mission statement. A little exercise, the divine is going to decide that such and such a thing happens, precisely something contradicting to your thinking or feeling. Then one tells oneself, well, and if the divine tells me you are going to give up that, you will see quite easily, immediately, what the reaction is. If it causes a little prick like this, mother pinches her body, you know yourself that this surrender is not perfect. So this surrender has to be total. How one will know that surrender is done? Your surrender must be a surrender of a living being, not of an inert automaton or mechanical tool. Mother says, you may speak, for instance, the surrender of your watch. You wind it up and it runs. But this is not a response of a conscious collaboration. A clock runs, but that is not collaboration. Willing collaboration, participating collaboration has to be with a willing, consciously willing doing things. And there are other statements on this which I did not include to make it shorter. Is this that you have at the point of final uh, surrender, it is not that that surrender comes when you are possessed by the divine. You are not possessing the divine. Divine has possessed you. And you are aware and you are happy. And that's the time, the ecstasy that comes, that ecstasy is unbelievable. And that is the sure Aurobindo says this again, right? And that becomes the real way to know that the surrender has been total. Surrender has been fruitful. What are the apparent indications? If one gives oneself to the divine without trust and confidence, with trust and confidence, the heart and nature purified, inner consciousness awakened, the veil is removed. So, as I discussed, progressively it happens. Is it not that surrendering one's work to the divine is enough? I'm not doing anything, I'm just doing work. Is that work is enough? Sri Aurobindo says there are many slides on it, but the nutshell of it is okay up to certain distance. Beyond that, it has to be much more. And this is where Krishna purposefully, by design, did not instruct Arjuna beyond a point. This is to be noted. We always ask, oh, Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, we didn't find this. Yes, you didn't find because it was not required that time by Arjuna. And it has got to be yogi. That means it is suitable for that age. 5,000 years, 6,000 years back, what is the level of consciousness and how much human race has come. So that consciousness which is needed at the battlefield by Arjuna is much less than what is required by us in our today's battlefield, day-to-day life battlefield. So it is more required. So Sri Aurobindo's mission is that does not surrender consist in offering one's work. Yes, but it is consciousness which sees how you ought to be may act directly and change all these movements in you more and more. Does not surrender consist in offering one's work like a good servant? This is infinitely important than surrendering what one does. I'm not about the work content of one does. What content of what you're doing, that is not important. It is not what one does, but what one is while he is doing that work. What is he inside? Is he giving and doing the work? Is he a bit reluctant in his vital to do this work? Does he think he is too superior? He is a Brahmin, he cannot clean the toilets? It has got to be done by somebody of lower caste. Why I'm quoting this? Because this is what happened in Pondicherry. And mother was experimenting that manager of that what do you call cottage. But what one is, whatever the activity, it is not quite the way of doing it, but the state of consciousness in which it is done that is important. Now, this boy is carrying this load with intense pain, but it should depend not on this trouble that he's lifting, but on how he is doing this. There's a famous story that I have read about construction of this temple, Tanjavur temple. During Tanjavur temple construction, I don't know how far it is true and all that, but then it is very instructive. A lot of message in that particular story. The construction work was going on, huge amount of labor is working, things are moving, people are chiseling stones and all that, and going on and on and on. And markets have opened up, like it happens whenever it's a function, markets crop up there around. So the stones were being brought in a bullock cart, and the bullock cart was left there, and there was another shop. He had some food, so he gave it to the cows, bulls, those who brought. And this is the time Shiva and Parvati were watching this work going on in Tanjore. And Parvati asked Shiva that how is this work going on? This work is going on fine, but do you know who is doing the best? He said that shopkeeper. Who is offering food to this bulls who's working, laboring, and frothing to their mouth. He is feeding them. He is not there to do a great job, earn recognitions, oh, great architect, this and that. He is the actual one. Very informative story for me. I find how it is to be done, when it is to be done, proper way to do. This we have seen. Does not surrender, consider offering one's like a good servant. We have read this. In Savitri, we find these wonderful four lines. Even the smallest, meanest work became a sweet, glad, and glorious sacrament, an offering to the self of the great world, or a service to the one in each and all. So it is a service to each and all. That indwelling self, offering itself to the supreme self, is the concept. How can you know that you belong to the divine? That's also associated. Surrender the capacity of the work. There must be accepted and progressively accomplished a surrender of our capacities of working into the hands of the greater power behind us and our sense of being. This is on the Gita. So same thought goes on. An inner renunciation of the personal desire leads to equality, accomplishes a total surrender to the divine, supports a delivery from the dividing ego with which one, with which of the oneness. Surrender everything, reject all the desires and interests. All egoism and self-will has to be abandoned, and one must seek to be governed by the divine Shakti. No complete surrender is possible without the psychic opening. So psychic opening, that's why Sri Aurobindo says, is the first action. You must meet your soul. You must meet yourself. Madam, please come here. There are seats here. You can go there also. All the parts are essentially offered, but surrender has to be made completely by the growth of psychic self-offering in all of them and in all their movements separately and together. To be enjoyed by the divine is to be entirely surrendered so that one feels the divine presence power. So my offering must be enjoyed by the divine. Similar thing, the tamasic and passive conditions must be surrendered. Surrender must be luminous, active, a willed offering. Now, if you say I am helpless, I cannot react to it comes and make me do what it wants, this is a wrong passivity. Wrong passivity is I do not want to do anything, let the divine do anything to me, that's okay. That is passive. That's not dynamic, that is not active. Mother says one must not get into the habit of a state in which you are always in a struggle with suggestions and forces. People very easily fall into this and make it a habit. The vital parts takes a sort of a glowing satisfaction in crying out, I am attacked, overborne, suffering, miserable. How tragic is my fate? I am so unhappy. Why do you not help, O divine? There is no help, not divine grace. I am left to my misery and downfall, etc., etc. This kind of a lamentation goes on. This is tamasic. I do not want, I do not want more sadhak to fall into this condition because there were quite a few sadhaks, lofty sadhaks, like Dilip Kumar Roy, for example. There must have been many, but he's the one who owned them. But many of them left Sri Aurobindo ashram also because of that reason. So I do not want more sadhaks to fall into this condition. That is why I am calling halt. No more. Before you get entangled into this kind of a habit of saying that you are in struggle, you are in difficulty, to make you feel helpless, defeated, overborne. You must not allow it. She has told this in 10 places. Don't allow yourself to be overcome by this. Surrender of Gita and of Sri Aurobindo. As I hinted at this subject, it is summarized here. Gita surrender is surrender of belief, of dharma, that is of mind's faith. It is not for attaining moksha, it is for attaining moksha quickly. The surrender is offered to Purushottama, the transcendent self. Sri Aurobindo's surrender is for transformation. This surrender calls for surrender of the soul and nature. Behind this act of surrender, it is the conviction not of sacrifice but of expansion. So you are increasing yourself. It is surrender. It is surrender for gain, not for loss. And Sri Krishna says this to Arjuna. Tameva saranam gaccha sarvabhavena bharat. In 18th chapter, he says, Tameva saranam gaccha sarvabhavena. That means you, Arjuna, it is in 18th chapter, right? At the end of the entire discourse. The, he has come up to that level before saying that now onwards I will do whatever you say. Before saying this that saying that, this is the Sri Krishna says, Tameva Saranam Gacha Sarva Bhavena. So this Sarva Bhavena is that Samyak Vipena. This Sarva Bhavena of Sri Krishna is what I mentioned, that Samarpana is Samyak Vipena Arpana. When you completely offer yourself, nothing left of your own. Nothing. But today, other than me, there's nothing else. So vitally, it is giving up the will to release further energy. Will is force issues of consciousness. Surrender of will results in the disappearing into consciousness, which is the origin of the mother. Thus, surrender enables one to become the mother. This is the origin, fundamental source from which surrender, the faculty of surrender, or the entity of surrender, or the idea of surrender emanates. It is this. I will read out something more details on this. Now, there was a question which I really didn't understand, but I wanted to, if the person is there, I will answer. I don't know from whom it came. Yes. Okay. Should we surrender the same issue problem every day till it is resolved? What actually you wanted to say? Any problem, any problem, any problem, no. Yes, yes. This 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 requirement comes under the first part of Mundukopanishad Vashana. Mundukopanishad Vashana is this is this, I need this. Say, my son is not getting married, my daughter is not getting a proper boy. All mothers are always worried that I must get a good son-in-law and that kind of thing. So that's the problem. They all go to pray for mother, pray for this purpose. All right, my husband must get a promotion, must profit must come from this business, kind of a thing. So this problem, this is at a lower level. This is done at Apara Prakriti level. So at Apara Prakriti level, help in this kind can be obtained from those gods who are over mental or below. Our gods, this Krishna, Shiva, etc. They're over mental gods. They're not supramental gods. And below there are also gods. Big beings and all that. We read about it everywhere. Especially if you read Sri Aurobindo's The Mother Chota book, then you will find that stratas, they are well defined. So it is that. But after you cross that stage inside, because it is always inner transformation that is being talked about, this will not arise. Now there is a Radha surrender. This is a poem that goes beyond all limits. I don't know why it's automatically shifting over. O thou whom at first sight I knew for the Lord of my being, and my God, receive my offering. Thine are all my thoughts, all my emotions, all my sentiments of my heart, all my sensations, all the movement of my life, each cell of my body, each drop of my blood. I am absolutely and altogether thine, thine without reserve. What thou wilt of me, that shall I be. Whether thou choosest for me life or death, happiness or sorrow, pleasure or suffering, all that comes to me from thee will be welcome. Each one of thy gifts will be always for me a gift divine, bringing with the supreme felicity. So this is Radha's termed as a Radha's prayer. The title was given by Sri Aurobindo, the lines of mother. So this is how uh, is the offering has to be. This is how it has got to be. Our offering, only when it is done in this fashion, becomes total. Otherwise, it is incomplete, not an acceptable offering. Now, there's a wonderful sonnet that Sri Aurobindo has written. O thou of whom I am the instrument. So, at the very first line, he says, I am your instrument. O thou of whom I am the instrument. You know, in the prayers and meditation, there is a poem by the mother where she prays to the divine that let me be an instrument of which you have the need. Let me be an instrument of you, of instrument that you need, not what I need. Let me do your ideas, your work. So that is what here in the sonnet, Sri Aurobindo said, O thou whom I am an instrument, O sacred spirit and nature housed in me, let all my mortal being now be blent in thy still glory of divinity. That means I am drenched in the glow of the divine, completely drenched in the glow of divine. I have given my mind to be dubbed thy channel mind. I have offered up my will to thy will. Let nothing be of myself be left behind in our union, mystic and unalterable. My, my heart shall throb without a word means of thy love. My body become thy engine for earth use. In my nerves and veins, thy raptures stream shall move. My thoughts shall be hound of light for thy power to lose. Give only my soul to adore eternally and meet thee in each form and soul of thee. I mean, unfathomable depth is this offering that Sri Aurobindo had done and the mother had done. And mother says, give all you are, all you have. Nothing more is asked of you, but also nothing less. Nothing short of all is acceptable to me. Either that or bend your way. So that is all in today's talk, primarily, but it will be almost insincere if I do not share something else which I not noted down. Everything comes from all places. The principle of surrender is the principle of Brahman. And Brahman is total movement, and total movement includes total power. Absolutely mathematical equation. Total movement includes total power. It arises out of the total acceptance by the total annihilation of the subject. It arises out of the total acceptance of the object by the total annihilation of the subject. Subject is in me, object is outside. It is like child's attitude, a newborn baby's attitude that he be taken care of by the mother. Huh? Yeah. It arises out of the total acceptance of the object. We're not from starting. And keep behind. So it is what type of offering that has to be? It says like the same thing that I think there is a story of by Ramakrishna about kitten and cat. Cat carrying this and monkey. Monkey holds on to the mother, but the cat is picked up by the father. So don't hold the divine. Let divine hold you. Now to make myself ready for divine to hold is a very stupendous job. I find it easier to hold the divine. To mark at a particular plane, whichever plane we are stationed at, partial progress can be made from that plane. That means I'm in this plane, I have to go to that plane. Here only, if I'm at the lower end of this plane, I make my attempts to the best possible to go up in that plane, in that plane, in the mental plane. For example, I'm in the mental plane or a vital plane. No, in that plane, I have to climb. But to go past that particular level, I need help from the top. Now, so this partial progress is possible through personal effort. But if we have to take a bigger jump, which we want to take, because if we don't take, we come back again and 10 times, 10 million times, and we'll have to go on like this. So in yogic language, in Sri Aurobindo's yogic language, it is called surrender. This process is called surrender. It is like, how does it happen? When I repeatedly do a particular word, surrendering repeat every minute, every breath. Sri Aurobindo says, every respiration and every heartbeat, that often we must offer. Every breath and every heartbeat must be rhythm. He uses the word rhythm of the universal rhythm. You see, how does it happen? It happens when we this repeated offering, repeated offering goes into our subconscious. And then subconscious does doing that. And mother writes in one of the stories telling the children, you know, how does it happen? He says, you see, you are a baby of 10 years of age. You are behaving like a child of 10 years of age. That lady has become an adult. And she has perfectly adapted herself to the society. How has this transition taken place? How has the transition taken place? Now she is behaving not like a child. She is behaving like an adult lady. How has this happened? He says that is because that behavior pattern has gone into her subconscious. And she's doing it automatically. This happens in our society. In our society, everything that happens It happens because of our that those ideas have gone into our subconscious. So this has to be sent to our subconsciousness. That can get sent, provided we do it extremely repeatedly. Extremely repeatedly. You know, I have to give an incident I saw. I happened to be in Air Force those days. I'm talking of many, many years back. And I had gone to, there's a place in Orissa near Balasore, which is called Chandipur. Chandipur is a missile testing ground, you know. And me and my friend, we had gone there. We were told to witness something. So we had gone there, and all the scientists and everybody were there. Some foreigners had also come, and we are staying. In the morning, I knew that scientist from DRDO was downstairs, staying downstairs. Come, Anil, come downstairs. Come, good. Or you sit here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so in the morning I got up, and from balcony I was just looking into the sea in front. You know? That sea is something different. That's what I've been chosen for myself. I saw two scientists after their bath early in the morning in winter with a towel around themselves. They have come out into the garden and with folded hands, praying to a tree to permit him to pluck the flower. So that permit me to pluck the flower so that I can offer it to the Buddha. So it is. Okay. I can switch off that. So this is how it is to be. Now, what another thing that happens, very interesting thing is the one thing I said the society does it, so it has got to be repeated. Now you see, each part of ours, each part of ours has got to uh, do the offering of whatever it is good in. Mind is good in thinking, heart is good in feeling, body is doing in terms of sensation. So these are the work we do. Now these works, these jobs not start at the mental, vital, and physical level. It starts from where? It comes from the subtle mental, subtle physical, and subtle vital. So this urge to do the work comes from the subtle. From the subtle it comes. So the work is got to be done. Surrender has got to begin from that subtle plane. And then it comes to the gross mind, comes to gross life, and then it comes to gross physical. So this is why that vital ego that you talked about, that you surrender vital ego, without that, no question of you will surrender, control your vital ego, nothing can really happen. You see, why also this is true? Why our subtle aspect at each point, like you say the chakras, at each point, it's connected to the subliminal. Subliminal is connected to universal. Subliminal is connected to universal. So at each point, I'm capable of drawing the thing from superconscious and do things of offering. We also must see at that time, Sri Aurobindo says that this is from the archives. No? He says that surface being should not contaminate that action. So there should not be any interaction with the conscious being, surface being. This will be our inner being, subliminal, and the universal, not the fractal. So then only the surrender can be meaningful, and it will then be able to do the children, actual surrender. So these are the some brief points. I've reached the end of my time given, and any other things we can I can take on. Yes, yes.
You had a slide where you discussed about two stages of surrender.
Uh,
And in the second stage, you mentioned that in the traditional through that your brings to the question that means the entire surrender process is just a transition process.
yes,
And
yes.
after the transformation, do we need this surrender?
No, it is done. I
So
write.
state that already
Say that again.
there was a state
Uh,
that you have already surrendered.
just before that, just before that, you have already surrendered. You see, what happens? Uh, uh, very good question. Very, very good question. Very, very good question. You see, if you get into our ancient scriptures, you will find, I'm talking about like Rig Veda, concept of sacrifice. This concept of sacrifice, Agni, has been described as an adhiyur. There are four fellows, those who do the yajna, and Agni is treated as the Purohitam. Agni has a role of adhiyur. Now, adhiyur means what? Adhiyur is the leader of the pilgrimage who leads you up your hill. So that, and who is that Agni? In our Vedic sense, it is the divine will. It is divine will. Sri Aurobindo says the clarified butter that we pour on the Agni is the divine mind. That symbolizes the divine mind. So when you're pouring that, the divine mind, I am asking the divine mind, be my leader in the pilgrimage. This is the third or fourth mantra, and I'm not getting the lines immediately, but third or fourth mantra in the Rig Veda, opening part, and there he says, he is the leader in all the paths that the divine is taking. Suppose you are taking a path of knowledge, Shankara's path, and she is taking a path of Madhvacharya, he is taking a Ramanujacharya. For each path, he is the leader. And takes you where you intend to go. You intend to go. He will not take you to where he thinks is the right place. So he is the Adhyur, also called. So this Adhyur role is this. So that entire process of climbing, that hill that I showed, entire process of climbing, the difficult climb, is the process of surrender, which will take few lives, perhaps, going the way we are going. Existing the way I am going. So that surrender has to be uh, that climbing.